Hi, this is Brian McNee with McNee Solutions, and today we're going to talk about cryptocurrencies. All over the news. Are they worth it? Are they not? I'm not going to go into that in this particular video, but I am going to teach you about mining cryptocurrencies and actually take you behind the scenes on a mining rig, how it all works, and how cryptocurrencies are created. So here we are leaving the conference room, and we're going to go back into my office and check out a mining rig. Okay, here we are in my office, and I wanted to show you one of the test rigs that I've built. We're going to go on over here, and this is what is called a mining rig. Now, a couple things you'll notice right away is that this is called an open air mining rig, meaning there's no case, like a classic computer case that you would expect. And the reason for that is because these things produce a tremendous amount of heat. And even right now I have 4 GPUs going. I'll talk about that in just a second. Each one has their own cooling fan, double, plus a lot of times there's internal cooling, and then I have additional fans. But all of this heat has to flow up. If it was trapped within a case, these things would get too hot. Now, what about mining? What should you know? Okay, first, on this rig, we have a very specific motherboard. Now, a motherboard is the guts of your computer, basically. It's what everything plugs into. Here you have your Intel CPU with the CPU fan. Back behind that, you have your RAM that you're used to hearing about. And then here is where you would normally plug in a video card, a high-end gaming video card. Now, the way that you mine cryptocurrency, in this specific case, Ethereum, is that the mining actually doesn't take place within the CPU, the Intel CPU, the way that you're running Windows or any type of office software is run on a CPU. Instead, the mining is actually conducted on really sort of mini computers, if you want to think of them that way. These are called GPUs, game processing units. And really what they are high-end video cards. They typically cost anywhere from $250 to up to $1,500 a piece, depending on what you're looking at. Also, depending on what type of cryptocurrency you want to mine. For example, these are all AMD Radeon chip based, which means I can mine Ethereum, but I could not mine Bitcoin with these cards. So I have this rig set up for a very specific thing. Now, here we have 4 of them running. I can have on this particular motherboard 6 running. Now, your typical motherboard doesn't have 6 spots for to plug in GPUs. And if you did, they'd be all scrunched together anyway. So the way that we solve this is we basically have something called a riser. And what that is we build this to plug in your GPU, and it has this sort of extension cable and external power that brings it down into here. So we can move these GPUs up away from the motherboard to make room for them, number one. And number two, take care of all that heat that would be created if they were all smushed together in a line. So here you can see we've got more than one power supply hooked up. These things take anywhere from 150 to maybe up to 350 watts. We'll talk about why that's important in just a moment. But we needed, in this particular case, more than one power supply in order to cover them. And again, there's 2 power supplies. I typically have another couple GPUs in here. In fact, I've got 2 out here. By the way, this is a new rig that I'm building. It's a huge internal server case, and it'll have, I'm going to cut a giant hole right here and have a big exhaust fan pulling everything in here. But here's a couple GPUs, and these are AMD Radeons. They have 8 gigabytes of memory, which is important. You cannot mine with anything under 4 gigabytes. So if you see a video card that's got 2 or 3 gigabytes on it, you can't mine with it. You got to have at least 4. You can need 8 for any type of performance. And you want to pick a video card that's going to get you at least 20 megahertz of performance. Now, to put in that perspective, I'm going to move over here to this screen, and what we have here is the rig itself is really basic other than the motherboard. And that is, it's an i3 Intel CPU. It has 8 gigabytes of RAM on one stick. And it has like a 120 gigabyte hard drive with Windows running on it. That's it. Now over here, it's running, and it doesn't even use Windows. It's using it's running in the background, and this window here has what we're running is called Claymore. Claymore is a mining software package. And so some of the things I want to show you is it's got GPU 1, the fan is at 43%, GPU, so you got GPU 0, GPU 1, GPU 2, and GPU 3. So that's 4 GPUs connected there. Notice every so often you see something that's green that says, hey look, a share is found on GPU 2, a share is found on GPU 3. And it tells you what the total speed is, 104.731 megahertz per second, total shares, none of them rejected. And so that's really the key here, is it tells you each one GPU, how fast they're going. Notice they're ranging between just about 18 to about 30 per GPU. And so the more GPUs you have, the higher they're running, the faster Ethereum you can mine. Now, to explain that a little further, I'm going to transfer over to the mining software and the mining software that I use, as well as some mathematical calculations for profitability. Let's switch over now.
Okay, so if you're going to mine, you basically have two ways to do it. You can mine yourself, or you can be part of a pool. The difference being is when you're mining by yourself, it will take you a significant period of time, and I mean months, in order to obtain one coin, whether that be Bitcoin. It could take you up to a year by yourself, depending on what type of rig you have. In Ethereum, it might take you a couple months to get one coin. So instead, what you do is you become part of a pool. And what these pools do is they sort of blockchain in several workers. Now, a worker is one rig. So what I just showed you, that test rig that was in the video, that's a worker. I could have 5 of those in my office, and those would be 5 workers. So it's tracking my one worker, and I'm one of maybe 1,000 to 2,000 workers in part of this pool. The reason why that's important is because when something is sent to the pool, it is spread out over all the workers. The problems are solved the algorithms, the transactions are verified, that sort of thing, and you're able to collectively earn an entire coin very quickly. And then that coin is distributed in shares. For example, here we have 24 shares at this particular time with that rig, and right now I guess we're working on 14 shares. Now, how many shares you get is greatly dependent upon what kind of speed you're at. So right now it's calculating my hash rate at 119. I'm sending, the rig is telling the system that it's performing at 104. The average is 98. The reason why these two numbers difference is because it takes the numbers of shares, it forces out this calculation, and this is just reading from the rig. So I have this set up to pay out every time it gets to 0.02 Ethereum, and it says I'll reach that in 3 days. So about every 3 to 4 days, I have it set so that it will pay my wallet, and we'll talk about a wallet in just a second, and it puts it in there. Now, pools have different performance ratings based on a number of different factors, but also you have to take into account what the pool fees are. This is a lot of technology going on, and they're not going to do it for free. Some pools have 0 fees, and of course the 0 fee pools generally perform pretty poorly. And then this particular pool, I believe, has a 0.1% fee, so that's just fine, and works out pretty well for me. Now, a crypto wallet is what these things get stored in, and you hear all the time about them getting hacked and people losing their cryptocurrencies and things of that nature, and that's really their own fault, in that they're creating these wallets offshore, and they're trying to hide their currencies, and you shouldn't do that. I use, for example, Coinbase. Now, Coinbase is a wallet, and the company is based in San Francisco, and that means that this company, this U.S. company, is under all of our laws, all of the audits. There's no shenanigans going on like some of these crypto exchanges and wallets. You hear of the founder and the CEO skipping town with all the cryptocurrency. None of that is happening with a U.S. based one. The problem is a lot of people don't like using Coinbase because, well, gee, maybe the government will find out about your cryptocurrency. They're going to find out anyway. The point of cryptocurrency isn't so much to evade taxes. That's a whole nother conversation. But I would recommend Coinbase or some other US-based wallet to put your cryptocurrency in. It's perfectly safe and cannot be stolen. There's very sizable crypto keys that have to be used in order to obtain it. And at any rate, use Coinbase. Do not use an offshore wallet or exchange. Now, when you're mining cryptocurrency, the key is whether or not you're making any money. And I'm using something here as an illustrative purposes called Crypto Compare. Now, in order to mine one Ethereum, and you don't have to mine a full coin, you get paid in portions of coins, you have to look at your hashing power. Now, we saw that in my test rig, we had some of them that were right around 30, so we'll key that in. Power consumption on those is a little stronger at 220 watts, kilowatt per hour, and the pool fee. You calculate that, and it'll tell you whether or not you're making money. So on this one particular card, remember I had 4 in there, it's saying I'm going to spend about $232 worth of electricity, okay, and it's going to give me about $1,349 profit per year on that one card. Now I've got, I think we're going to average about 120 there on the hash rate for those 4 cards, and the power consumption I'll just go ahead and put at 1,000 watts. Okay, now you see that the profit per year is about 5,270 on those 4 cards. When I put in 6 cards, that's going to put me at about 180, and I'm going to put this at about 1,500. Okay, now I'm at about 8,000 per year. Now that's going to vary because right now it's got Ethereum at $1,322.43. That's been as low as 500. That is near its high right now, though. The Ethereum doesn't see the big swings that Bitcoin does, by the way, which is one of the reasons that I prefer to mine it. So this is a pretty stable way to go. Obviously, you would need many more rigs than just the 4 or 6 card rig that I have in order to, have any real sizable profit that you could rely on. I personally, when I mine everything, it goes into my wallet and it stays in the wallet. I very rarely cash it out or do anything. I could tell you I never ever buy coins. I only mine them. I'm not going to go into whether it's smart to buy Bitcoin at 12,000 and it'll go up to 17,000 and you'll make 5,000 overnight. There's wild swings that a lot of it has nothing to do with reality. It has to deal with where the money's ebbing and flowing at any particular time. That gets us to mining. Now, mining, there's a reason why they call it that. Before we get too far into that, over the numbers we just displayed to you on the calculator, one thing to take into account, of course, is the cost of your equipment. You have to buy all the parts. Now, a mining rig can cost you anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000 for each 6-card rig, and so it takes you a while to recoup that cost. The thing is, though, you always have that equipment. It doesn't go away. It's not like you've lost that money. So you always have the hard drive, you always have the video cards, you always have the power supply, you always have the motherboard, you always have the memory. It's all there. It didn't go anywhere. You didn't. You just simply moved money from your checking account into money into computer equipment, and that money didn't leave. It's still in computer equipment. So, but you still want to find out your break-even point, your return on investment. And so in that particular case, if I was obtaining about $8,000 a year on one rig, and it cost me about $3,000 to build that rig, then the net is $5,000. Of course, that's net of your electricity cost as well. The problem is that in some parts of the country, electricity costs are extremely high. And so it just really depends on where you are and whether or not it makes financial sense. But those things you have to think about with mining. Now, why do they call it mining? They call it mining. It's similar to gold. Okay, I want you to put this in perspective. Theoretically, according to top scientists, of which I can assure you I am not, gold somehow got on Earth through external sources, meteors, outer space. And that's where gold came from. And it's in our Earth, and there's a finite amount of it. In other words, unlike a diamond, which can be created over time, coal and pressure, that's not the case with gold. With gold, there's a fixed part of it. Now, let's say you open up a gold mine. Well, when you open up a gold mine and you got the veins identified, getting into it, the first batch of gold is probably pretty easy. And then after you exhaust all the easy to find gold, well, then you start spending more and more money, and it takes longer and longer to find what's ever left. And so it becomes more and more difficult as you mine. Why, that's the same concept with cryptocurrencies in their mining, in that over time, the difficulty levels increase and increase. That's why when Bitcoin first started, you could find a Bitcoin very, very quickly. Whereas now, that same exact rig, same exact equipment, might not find a Bitcoin for a year or more. So the difficulty level for the algorithms keeps increasing over time, and there's a finite amount that is going to be allowed to be created via mining. So it creates a scarcity, much like gold, and unlike currencies. You can talk about all you want, whether it's a cryptocurrency is going to be here long term or not, and whether or not it's used for nefarious purposes. Cash, look at cash. Every nefarious thing that's ever happened is cash based. We have pallets of cash going to Iran. We have pallets of cash going in and out to drug lords in Mexico. Cash is behind everything nefarious. And by the way, there's not a finite amount of cash. Every year we just simply print more cash. And it's not even based off of anything. Our current U.S. currency is based on our government's promise to repay. It's not based on gold. It's not a gold standard anymore. It's literally based on paper. I don't know how different that is than cryptocurrencies, other than the fact that it's established, well established, and it's accepted and it's part of our psyche. But reality, currency, cash works because people believe it'll work. Seems to me that people are believing in cryptocurrency a little bit more, and so therefore it has a little bit more validity. Regardless, I could take my cryptocurrency, put it in the Coinbase, and I can sell it on the exchange and deposit it in my checking account, and it's real. So cryptocurrency is real. I do not believe in speculative buying of coins. I slowly and methodically mine them. Each person has their own individual way they want to do it. But I just wanted to teach you a little bit about what mining is, what kind of equipment you need, and kind of give you sort of an understanding a little bit about cryptocurrency. So it's just not this big mystery. Of course, McNee Solutions is the place to go. If you need a website, if you need SEO, give us a call. We're the best place to go. Have a fantastic day.